God can teach us in so many ways. Yesterday, I felt a little bit like that wedding guest from the parable of the man who showed up at the feast wearing the wrong garment. If you weren't here, yesterday, as I joyfully sang out the last line of Amazing Grace at Mass, sounded so good. One of our friends here at the Peyton Center, Virginia, tapped me on the shoulder and pointed over to Father Pinto, who pointed at his chasuble. And for some strange reason, he and all the other priests were wearing white vestments, while I proudly was wearing green. I was very humbled but grateful that I had learned that I needed to change to honor St. Francis Cabrini, yesterday's saint. Today's gospel can also lead us to consider change and growth and humility as it relates to the service of God and others. Jesus, in a turn from what we might expect in today's parable, seems to be promoting servitude and exalting the rights of the master. Ordinarily, we'd hear Jesus turning the tables on this kind of story, so it makes you wonder what was going on. Well, it always helps to ask, who was Jesus teaching? In this case, it was the apostles, the very men he had chosen to entrust the authority and power to act in his name. Jesus was teaching them how they were to be shepherds of the flock and to remind them that they were to serve as well as to lead God's people. As I thought about this message, it reminded me of Father Bill McCarthy of St. John's in Quincy, the pastor who founded Father Bill's Place for the homeless and the needy, which is now partnered with Mainspring. It also reminded me of Father Neil Heary from Sacred Heart in North Quincy. I can picture each pastor faithfully and humbly serving their flocks, and on each Holy Thursday, getting down on their knees in imitation of Jesus at the Last Supper, washing the feet of his apostles. Sometimes Jesus can surprise us. Just like in the 12th chapter of Luke's Gospel, we heard how he had spoken of the master who reverses roles and then waits on his servant. But in this case, Jesus seeks to tell it a different way. And the goal is to prevent the apostles from falling into a sense of entitlement in their ministry. Jesus is reminding the apostles that it's God's will that we seek to follow, and it is his commandments that the apostles are to do. I think we can all appreciate that it's human nature to drift and sometimes not notice a change in our attitude and how that affects our behaviors. Sometimes the causes are advancing in age. Other times it's advancing in education or our career. Jesus is making it clear to the apostles that though they've been given a great responsibility, their lives are to be about serving God and his people and not serving themselves. I believe that one great gift that parents can give their children is to teach them that there is no work beneath anyone if it is in the service of God and God's people. To teach our young people by example is the best way to show them, for example, that stacking up chairs or cleaning up after a church event or in your home or at someone else's home and countless other ways is not something that other people do and not us, but what we do too. And sometimes the most striking teachers of these lessons are the people with the most money and the most power. For me, when former President Jimmy Carter began volunteering for Habitat for Humanity, he showed everyone that he wasn't afraid to roll up his sleeves and to pound some nails to serve the poor. Likewise, I know the priests that I serve with here all have done manual labor, and when needed, will do it again. And I know the same is true with you folks too. You're not afraid to roll up your sleeves and to help. What Jesus taught the apostles is what they would need to be as missionaries, what they would need to do in spreading God's message, in caring for the flock, and providing the nourishment and the healing through the Eucharist and confession and all the other sacraments. My brothers and sisters, humble service is an attitude, or better yet, it is a virtuous way of life, one that is not only rewarding, but it's an imitation of Jesus, and it is the path to heaven, and the one that can allow us to bring others with us in Jesus' name as we serve them. Let our prayer today be this, quite simply, that we may be humble servants for the Lord, and he will bless us with many opportunities to serve in his name.